I'm BKRsport. We're back here for another tipping video, and it is the NRL round number 24. We are at a very crucial point of the season. There is still a lot to play for, especially for the teams around that 8, as we did a video yesterday that you guys would have seen. There is 5 teams that are still in the hunt for that 8, 4 of which will make the 8, 1 of which will not make the 8. So it's going to be a huge weekend here. We also have the wooden spoon that is still currently being decided. The top 4 is still currently being decided. Obviously, the minor premiership has already been won by the Panthers, but it's going to be an exciting weekend, guys. We've got some really, really big games, and it starts off on Thursday night. We've got some massive games, 3 specifically, that are really, really crucial in regards to who will be playing finals in 2022. Obviously, there is still another week to go after this before the finals. So if you want to know about the 5 teams that are battling right now and kind of the results that they're hoping for and what they need and what teams are kind of praying for other results and them getting wins, go and check the video out from yesterday. It was an in-depth analysis into every kind of scenario that can unfold here. Now, before we do get into the tipping video here, which is obviously what you guys came for, I do have another incentive, a little incentive that I have added to each of these tipping videos. I'm going to, from now on, in all of my tipping videos, if I don't get at least 50% right, which is low, that's still not that great. 4 out of 8 in the NRL, that's not that fantastic at all. You know, you just kind of par. If I get less than 50%, I'm going to be doing a punishment. Now, I've actually thought of this. I had this idea kind of a long time ago. I've seen my boy Cardi doing this one as well. I really want to kind of actively encourage myself to get the tips right. The way that it's going to go is that if I get less than 50% of the tips right, there is going to be one of you guys who comment on this video below. So I want you guys right now to go into the comment section, give me your tips obviously, but I want you to write in the comment section a punishment for the do. Now you have to be realistic. Obviously, I'm not going to do anything crazy silly, but we're going to have 5 comments. I'm going to do a wheel decider the week after. Obviously, we get those tips wrong, and one of your comments that you obviously do put there with the punishment, I will unfortunately have to do there. But like I said, it's only if I get less than 50%, which I really hope that I'm not having to do. All right, so go into the comment section right now and chuck a punishment. You know, eat a hot chili, or, you know, do a shot of vodka, which I don't ideally ever do here on the channel, or whatever you think of. I don't mind, you know, a bit of fun, bit of a laugh, and, you know, just something that kind of gets us a little bit more incentive to get them right, like I said. So let's get into the tipping video here, guys, and let's see what we're going with for round number 24. So the first game here is the Brisbane Broncos versus Parramatta Eels. Now, you could argue that this is the biggest game of the weekend and one of the big games of the season, actually. The Broncos, obviously, they're not favourites right now. They're really struggling overall as a team. They've really kind of fallen apart lately, and that was proven when they took on the Melbourne Storm last week at Suncorp Stadium, where this game is obviously at, and they lost 60-12. 60-12. Now, granted, last week's games, massive blowouts every single game, besides that Panthers Rabbitohs game, which was still a high-scoring game, mind you, at 26-22. But the Broncos, this has been coming for quite some time. You know, the Knights game, they didn't look great. They scored a lot of points, but that's because it's against the Knights, and they just have been pretty poor for a good month now. They're really wiltering and falling apart at the wrong time of the season, the wrong point of the season. So it's a bit scary for the Broncos right now because they are not locked into that 8. They need to win this game. In comparison, Parramatta, they're also not locked into the 8. However, they pretty much are. You know, they would need a ginormous amount of things to go wrong for them to actually miss out and the Raiders jump in over the top of them, because they are in 5th position right now. The Eels are actually still playing for a top 4 spot, right? So they could still miss the 8, but they're also playing for a top 4 spot. They would have to rely on the Storm to lose their game. But the Eels, we know they're a good team. Like, they are a good team, but they can also lose games they shouldn't. This game, however, is so 50-50 that it's really impossible to read, realistically. You know, the Broncos, they obviously have shown throughout the season they have enough to win this game. They've shown they actually beat them the last time they played them, and actually pretty well done there at CommBank, but a very decent bit of time since we saw that. And it's not looking good for the Broncos ever since that game, actually, to be honest with you. But the Broncos have the ability to win this game. And Parramatta, they should win this game. You know, this team has the ability. This team should be winning this game. I am going to go and say that, like, if the Broncos lose this game, they're in such a bad predicament. I'm going to say the Eels by a couple of points. I really want to go to the Broncos here at Suncorp. I really do. But I do think Parramatta are a better team. I think they've got a better team on paper. You know, they're a bit more experienced when it comes to finals. They're a bit more experienced about getting the job done when it needs to be done. I know they are chokers. They are really. Parramatta is Parramatta. We all know what they can be like. So this is one of the games that I'm worried about in regards to this tipping this week, because I could definitely see the Broncos win this game with Suncorp. And it's probably a more important game for them to win, actually. But this will be the game for me. The Eels solidify themselves in the top 8, and they keep pushing themselves up to that 4th spot, where I think I had them pre-season, maybe a 4th or maybe a 5th. I'm not too sure. I think I had them in 5th, actually. So if they finish off where they are, that's where I picked them pre-season. I'm going to take the Eels. I'm going to take 1-2 points. I'll take it by 1 or 2 points. Honestly, I think it's going to be a very close game, and it's going to be really a heartbreak there for the Broncos. However, for the Broncos, they still just have that game against the Dragons where they can still make it up and win and then make the 8th. It's not all doom and gloom if they do lose this, but it will be a bit of a shitfest for them. It will be a bit of a shitfest. So I'll go with Eels there, but I feel like I want to take the Broncos, but I'm going to take the Parramatta. Okay, next game here, we've got the Penrith Panthers going up against the New Zealand Warriors. This is pretty simple here, but then again, Panthers aren't playing for anything. The Warriors just aren't great. You know what I'm saying? The Warriors are just outside the bottom 4, or might be in the bottom 4 right now. They are really poor. I think they're actually just outside the bottom 4, 16, 15, 14, 13. Yeah, I think they're 12th right now, off the top of my head. But the Warriors aren't good. This is in Penrith. I don't see Penrith losing this game by any stretch. I've got them 13 plus here. I know that obviously Cleary is still out, Luai is still out, so a few players out there for the Panthers. But they're still the Panthers. You know, they still just beat a red-hot in-form Rabbitohs team without their halves. Rabbitohs had a pretty much full-strength team, and the Panthers still got the job done there. So I think Panthers 13 plus here, and I think that's pretty simple to say, to be completely honest with you. Next up here, let's move on to another really, really tough game. Honestly, by the way, if that screws me in my tipping this week to get over 50%, I tell you what, that will be infuriating. That will be infuriating, because everyone's going to tip the Panthers there. Every man and his dog. Next up here, massive game. Just an absolutely huge game here between the Melbourne Storm and, actually, sorry, the Warriors are in 13, so they are in the bottom 4. So the Storm and the Roosters here. Another game that is just so difficult to read. Storm obviously coming off the back of a 60-12 win over the Broncos. The Roosters are coming off a 72-6 win over the West Tigers. Broncos are a bit better than the Tigers, obviously, even though the Tigers did actually beat the Broncos. I think this is going to be a Storm win. I really get a bad feeling for the Roosters here that they're going to have to wait for that final round to solidify themselves. I think the Roosters are a good team. You guys know me, I've been banging the drums since halfway through the season. Everyone wrote them off, said they're not making the 8. Still a chance not to make the 8, especially with a result like this. I think the Storm at home at Amy Park, if this was at a Core or Allianz, Sydney home ground, I would have gone with the Roosters here. But with the Storm fight for that top 4 spot, assuming, like I said before, with the Eels winning, the Storm would have to win here. They've got a better 4 against the Eels, so it wouldn't matter too much for now, but the Storm play the Eels next week, right? So the Storm win this game, they lock off the top 4. The top 4 is done regardless of the Eels result. Even if the Eels were to beat the Storm next week, it would be too much of a points differential switch for them to get in there. So I just think at Amy Park, I've got the Storm here. They've got a very good team still, and Money Munster's going to be flying, man. He's going to be flying. So I actually... Yeah, I'm taking the Storm. Taking the Storm. Very tough game to predict there, though. We'll go Roosters here in the women's game. We're not going to really do too much on that. Moving on now, we go to the Canberra Raiders and the Manly Seagulls. The Canberra Raiders need to win this game. There is no ifs, there is no buts, there is no maybes. They are outside the 8 right now by 2 points, and their points differential is not in their favour. They're still about 50 points differential behind the Broncos in 8, and they do have to still rely on the Broncos losing, obviously. But if the Broncos are to lose at least one game and still beat the Dragons by a small amount, if the Raiders win against Manly here by a large enough margin and the Tigers by a large enough margin, they can still make it even if the Broncos don't win both their games, right? So this is a huge game for the Raiders. They did struggle against the Knights, had to come back from a big deficit against the Knights to actually keep their finals hunt alive. Manly, on the other hand, they're done. You know, they just got absolutely pumped by the Sharkies. Sharks usually have a terrible record with Brookvale, but yeah, even Manly couldn't stop that absolute onslaught there from Cronulla. I think this is just too important here for the Raiders, and I think they'll win. And I'll go 16. I'll go 16. It could be more. I think Manly will have enough about them to give it a go, but I've just got the Raiders being too good here. And I don't think the Raiders are that great of a team. I think their defense is normally a bit better than what it showed against the Knights. I think they're still an okay attacking team, you know, a decent attacking team, strong attacking team with the centers of Manny Tomoko, Sebastian Chris, who had a great game against the Knights. Look, yeah, I'll go with the Raiders here, and I'll go by 16. And that will help them, especially, well, with the fact that I've got the Eels by, let's say, 2, right? That would then take the Broncos to plus 19, and the Raiders would still be in the negatives. I think they would be about -9. So it would still take a good 15, 20 point switcheroo in that final round for the Raiders to get in. But I'll go Raiders by 16 here, and yeah, you'd hope that they can get that job done there, especially with their season officially on the line. Next up here, we go to the Sharkies and the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs, they had a little, a bit about them for a couple of weeks there, have now fallen off and gone back to kind of being the Doggies. The Sharkies, obviously, they're still fighting for that second spot to get that home final. They're really pushing for a home final at Shark Park right now, which I don't know if they'll get. But the Sharks should win this one pretty easily, and I could see it being by a decent enough margin, maybe 10, maybe 20, anywhere between that. I'd say 10 to 20 points is what we're looking for the Sharkies here. A lot pacier team than the Doggies. The Doggies do give it a go, and they are a bit of a pacey team, but the Sharks are clinical. They're defensively sound, very defensively sound, and I think they'll be able to lock down most of this Bulldogs pack here in this game on Saturday. Yeah, I'll go Sharkies, and it could be by more than 20, but I'll say the Bulldogs have enough about them to keep themselves relatively in it, but still very confident that they're going to not be the winners in the end. They're the Dogs. Alrighty, we go to Saturday here at 7:35 p.m, and it is it's another very big game of the round. Another massive, massive game of the round here in the South Sydney Rabbitohs and the North Queensland Cowboys. Rabbitohs, they need to win this game to... they're not done by any stage, obviously, but they play the Roosters next week. So this needs to be their win here. But the Cowboys, obviously, they're playing for a top 2 spot, sorry. Actually, technically, they could still finish in 4th, actually, with the Storm they're chasing. The Cowboys are still fighting for that home final. Home final is very key for them. I know that even if they did lose that first week, they'd get that home final. But you kind of want to get off to that good start in the finals, especially with the Cowboys, who are not experienced right now when it comes to finals, and they have not been fantastic. I guess the last month or so have still been getting results and have still been doing what they need to do, but haven't been as good as we've seen them throughout the season, right? So the Rabbitohs, they're coming off the back of a really tough loss to the Panthers there. Their heads to be down, but I do think they bounce back here. I do think the Rabbitohs bounce back here at Accor Stadium. I think that they're going to really kind of utilise that motivation, the fact that if the Roosters were to lose that game, as I said before, and the Storm win, Rabbitohs win this, the Rabbitohs can actually effectively knock the Roosters out of the finals race next week. The Rabbitohs could actually effectively knock out the Roosters next week by beating them. So this would be an ideal result here for the Rabbitohs, and I think there'll be enough quality about this team down there in Sydney as well. If this was in North Queensland, I'd probably take the Cowboys. I probably would. Rabbitohs were still decent quality against the Panthers, even without the Panthers halves. They just didn't have enough when it came to the crunch. And that's where a loss like Adam Reynolds obviously comes into play there. I know Cody Walker's there, but they have a rookie half there in Ilias. Damien Cook's not been having a great season. Latrell Mitchell obviously came back and did what he could, but still made a really silly mistake there for the penalty late on to tie that game up there. Anyway, I've got the Rabbitohs here by maybe 4 points, maybe 6 points. 4 to 6 points. Alex Johnson, we all know he's going to score a try. Eels Dragons in the women's, we'll go Dragons there. Okay, so 2 games here on Sunday. Now, we've gone from the top 8 battle to top 4 battle to 2 games here that could easily decide the wooden spoon battle. Obviously, the Tigers playing, the Titans playing. Technically, the Knights are still in that hunt as well, technically, but you'd have to see the Titans beat the Knights and the Warriors next week, and also the Tigers beat the Dragons, and then the Raiders next week for the Knights to get it. But it is still technically on here. So the Tigers and Dragons is the first game here at 2 p.m. on Sunday. I won't be streaming either of these games, guys, because I'll be at Seabus Super Stadium with the vlog getting around this one. Should be, hopefully, a good game for the Titans, right? But the Tigers, they play the Dragons. It's hard not to include bias here, because obviously I don't want the Tigers to win. But I could definitely see them winning. And I see that the odds of $3.10 does definitely make sense here. It does, by the way, Titans $1.45 odds is wild. But it does make sense here. The odds of $3.10, there is a shout. There is a chance for the Tigers. However, this team just conceded 72 points. 72 points. The Tigers just conceded 72 points. Nearly a ton. That is outrageous. That is ridiculous. That is unacceptable for a professional first-grade team. I don't care how many injuries there are, even though there aren't even many injuries at the Tigers right now. I don't care how many injuries or non-first graders that you're actually starting. You don't concede 70 points. You know, you shouldn't be conceding 50, but 70? That's mad. It's wild. The Dragons, they conceded quite a few points to the Titans, but also scored enough points to win, 44-26 or whatever it was. Very high-scoring game there. Dragons, look, they're not a good team, but they're there. They're up there, but they're not a good team. But surely they beat the Tigers here. No, surely they do. But they're not playing for anything. The Tigers aren't something to play for. But this team just conceded 72, and we've also seen many times in the past that they don't necessarily, like you think, oh, maybe they'll back up now and they'll be like, oh yeah, motivate from that loss and motivate from that embarrassment. The Tigers have been embarrassing for 11 years now, and results like this are quite common. So I don't really necessarily back the Tigers to just back up from that and, you know, show that they're going to avoid that embarrassment again. I'm going to take the Dragons here. It's not a guaranteed pick. It's not a lock pick there. Tigers are at home. I'll take the Dragons because they still have points in them. But then again, the Titans are the ones who are giving up all those points. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Titans are the one who are giving up all those points. So very difficult for me to kind of analyse that Dragons performance. But I do still think that this team got 72 points. I cannot tip them. I cannot tip the Tigers. I just can't do it. So yeah, I'll go the Dragons there. Interesting game. Hopefully, if the Tigers win, they're actually above the spoon. They're not in the spoon at that point. And it probably, well, it would come down to the Titans beating the Knights, obviously, and the Warriors next week. But if the Tigers lose this game and the Titans win their game, the spoon race is over. The Tigers will get their 22nd wooden spoon. Alrighty, guys, the Tigers fans won't like that I said 22nd because obviously they do try to obviously say they've never had a spoon before, but West and Balmain collectively 21, right? So it is what it is. Alrighty, last game here, guys. We've got my Gold Coast Titans versus the Newcastle Knights. Oh, I just dropped everything there. Everything's gone all whack. My Titans versus the Knights. Like I say all the time, guys, you guys know me. I'm going to take my team. I believe in my team. I support my team. I'll beat the game as per usual. And the Titans are heavy favourites here, which is wild to me. $1.45 is pretty ridiculous. I think that it's definitely the Titans should be favouritism based on the fact that obviously they beat Manly by a considerable margin. They still scored 26 points against the Dragons. They did lose that game by conceding 44, but the Knights are a shambles right now. Like, the Knights are in absolute turmoil. They're not believing in their coach. They've got no Kalen Ponga. You know, their halves and hooker are just, their whole team, they've lost centres and wingers to nonsense. Like, there's just too much going on in the Hunter right now. There's too much going on in the Hunter for them to, hopefully, for me, focus on this game here with the Titans. The Titans do still have that oomph. They do. They have the oomph. But the defence, they don't have no oomph. No oomph at all. Not in defence. Absolutely woeful. Absolutely woeful. The last time these two teams played, I drove a 14-hour round trip to Newcastle to watch my team concede 5 tries to Edgerton. I know, crazy, right? I think that the Knights were in a bit of a better mind space back then. I think they were in a bit of a better situation and were at home in Newcastle. The Gold Coast have a very good record against Newcastle on the Gold Coast. They also probably, well, they definitely do, have a better team on paper. That's the thing. It has not worked out for the Titans this year, but they do have a better team on paper. And I won't even hear the end of it, actually. I won't hear anything else because I know that this team has a better team on paper than the Knights. They should be winning this game at home. Yes. Can they lose? Absolutely. Can they concede Buddy 100? Absolutely. Can they score 100? Absolutely. It's probably going to be a high-scoring game here, but I've got the Titans. There's too much shambles going on in Newcastle. I would have probably tipped the Tigers over the Knights this week. I probably would have tipped the Tigers over the Knights this week if it was, you know, the Tigers playing the Knights. So, yeah, there we go. And obviously, I'm just going to do this. I'm pretty certain the Knights are going to win this game for the women's game. I will be there as well for that. I'm going to take the Titans, but I'm pretty certain. The women's games don't count for this this 50%, by the way, guys. It does not count for this 50%, so you sit them down, okay? You sit them down. But yes, I'll go to Titans there. So there's my tips, guys. Like I said, if I get less than 50%, one of your comments that has a punishment on it, I will do for next week's tipping video. Hopefully I don't have to do that. That'd be nice. I think that this week is a potential of having to do one because there is so many hard games. Titans Knights, very 50-50. Tigers Dragons, you can see the Tigers winning there. Eels and Oh, sorry, that's women's. Rabbitohs and Cowboys, absolute 50-50. Sharks, Dogs. I can't see the Sharks losing that game. So that should be a lock pick there. Raiders, Manly. You'd have to expect that that's at least 2 from 2 there. Roosters and Broncos. Absolutely. Oh my God, again, it's the women's game. Roosters and Storm. That is the pure definition of a 50-50 game. Panthers, Warriors, that should be a lock for 3 out of 3. So I just have to hope, and then Broncos, Eels is the other one there, which is a pure definition of 50-50 again. So I just have to hope for one of those 50-50s to fall in my favour, and then I wouldn't have to do that punishment. But I hope you guys have enjoyed, guys. Obviously, like I said, comment below your punishment, plus also your tips for this week. Hit that thumbs up button. I do appreciate it. Subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll see you on the streams this week, guys. Looking forward to it. Alright, guys. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. See ya.